Imagine a thief who pulled off the biggest heist in Japanese history without using any force. Everyone who heard this story said it was the cleverest heist in the world. Of course, we're not talking about something simple. The man stole 300 million yen and just took them. He did it all with simplicity, without weapons or pursuits. The best part is how he stole them. The detective work done by Japanese police. This was Japan in 1968. At this point, Japan was undergoing significant economic growth as the entire world was in a technological revolution. From the beginning, they were world leaders in technology. This economic growth positively impacted banks. I mean, a country with a lot of work certainly has a lot of money. As such, banks became a prime target for many thieves. In fact, there were many bank robberies, but one was the biggest and cleverest. The story began like this. There was a bank called Nihon Trust Bank. The bank's manager received a letter in his home mailbox. The letter was from an unknown sender. When he opened it, he was shocked to find a threatening note from someone saying that if he didn't bring 300 million yen to a designated location, he would detonate explosives. Naturally, when the manager read the letter, he was terrified. He was scared, and when he went to the office, he was surprised that a message had also reached him there. He reported it to the police immediately. The police were notified, and after that, the messages kept arriving at his house and office in a regular manner. The police naturally took precautions. They kept a close eye on the bank and the bank manager's house because they were worried that the unknown party might carry out their threat. The manager held a meeting with the employees and informed them about the incoming threat. He told them to be prepared and to take safety measures. The manager said everyone should take precautions as the bank could be in danger at any moment. A few days after these messages, specifically on December 10th, 1968, the bank was supposed to deliver a sum of 300 million Japanese yen to Toshiba. Toshiba is a known large company. The company was huge, with a large number of employees. It was the end of the year, and they planned to distribute bonuses to them. The company paid the bonuses in cash. The bank was responsible for delivering the cash to a branch of Toshiba in Tokyo. The bank manager assigned 4 employees to transport the cash. They put the money into 3 large bags, which they put in the trunk of the car. They got in the car and started off towards the Toshiba company, which wasn't more than a kilometer away. While they were on the way, a bike-riding police officer stopped them nearby and informed them that unfortunately their manager's house. He was subjected to a big explosion and there were injuries and deaths. The first thing that came to their mind is that he is really the person the unknown carried out his threat and blew up the director's house, and the policeman told them that he stopped them for security reasons because they were also suspects, that there are explosives in the bank and in the bank cars, so come on guys, let us check the car. And everyone, he's looking everywhere. Of course they were very afraid and started looking with him hysterically in the whole car, and the policeman, he went under the car to check on it and suddenly smoke started coming out from under the car. Here the bank employees said, but a bomb will explode, and they left the car and ran away and went to hide behind a wall. And after a while, one of the guys get out from behind the wall and were surprised that the car and the policeman disappeared and there was no Ali. The earth is nothing but the bike of the policeman and Flair, who is the smoke. At first they didn't understand, and first thing, it came to their mind that he was this brave policeman. He got in the car and took it to explode in a place far from the street. They rang the bank to tell them, and who replied to them? The bank manager was happy that they heard his voice and that he is still alive and that there is no bomb that exploded in his house and family and that everything is fine. But then they noticed that there is still smoke. He gets out where the car was, and the one on the ground Flair here, they knew that he was the one he acted like a cop to save them. He's a thief who tricked them with the bomb joke. When they ran away from the car, he took the car with the 300 million in it and fled the same amount that the unknown had been asking for till today. It is the biggest and smartest robbery in Japanese history. They informed the police. Many officers arrived at the scene and found some evidence, including the bike that the policeman had left behind, which turned out to not really be a police bike. The thief had modified it and made it look like a police bike. Real police and bank employees told the police that the thief was wearing a real police uniform from last time. The thief had a good plan and executed it well, and the investigators didn't know what they should do. They tried very hard to find something interesting in the place or any description from the employees who'd seen the thief, but they didn't find any useful information. Of course, the police couldn't neglect the case or be careless because the stolen amount is not small. The following is what they did. They deployed over 1,000 officers all over the city and set up checkpoints on every main street in Tokyo and circulated the car's description. It didn't take them long to find the car in a cemetery not far from the place where the theft occurred. The problem is that they found tire prints. Another car found near the bank car made them realize the thief was smarter than them, and it was too late. It was too late to set up checkpoints because the thief had already changed cars and probably got away with the money a long time ago. New orders were given to stop search operations and checkpoints because they were no longer useful. During that time, the theft was front page news all over the country and people were shocked. 300 million was stolen and many people were impressed by the thief's cleverness, who managed to steal without inflicting any harm. But the police were unable to retrieve any helpful information despite having the scooter used by the thief for the operation. Although they tried every method, they couldn't find any useful information. Or even where did he get the pieces to make it look like a police bicycle in this way? Where did he paint the bike or the traffic light that he had or the clothes he was wearing? They didn't leave any place or a tailor, but there was no result. Everything that was used in the operation is not clear the thief. Where did he get it now? The part that will shock you with all the story based on the description of the bank employees who saw the thief the police drew and printed 75,000 pictures and distributed them all over Japan. Imagine that there was 11,000 suspects and the number of officers involved in the investigation was more than 17,000 officers, and the investigation was assigned, it was 900 million yen, which means 3 times the amount stolen. Now, many of you will ask why the government decided to spend this amount in order to look for a much less amount, and the answer is they wanted to prove their presence and show everyone that there is a strong security system so that no one, he thinks in the future, to do another robbery like this. The important thing in all the investigation that they did is that of all the suspects who, as I told you, numbered 11,000, the focus was on 3. Only the first is the manager of the bank. The police didn't accuse him directly, but there's a lot of chatter about him being the mastermind behind everything. The whole operation to transfer money to Toshiba was supposed to be secret. No one was supposed to know about it except for him and a few employees and officials of Toshiba. As you've probably noticed, the car delivering the money wasn't even secured with guards, even though the transferred amount isn't small. How did an outsider get all the details? How did he know that a significant sum was going to be withdrawn from the bank and delivered to Toshiba on this very day? Adding to this suspicion, during the period of surveillance on Alem's house, messages kept coming in and no one knew where from. All these things put the bank manager under suspicion, and everyone started saying he was the culprit, but the police couldn't prove it because there was no solid evidence. The second suspect has a tragic backstory. His name is Takina Shoji, and he is a taxi driver. What drew suspicion to him was that he lived close to the bank and looked a bit like the sketch the police drew. The police stated he had the same skills you'd expect of a taxi driver, but they didn't find any evidence against him and didn't arrest him. The problem is, during the investigation it was leaked that this man was considered a suspicious person. Among them, many journalists wrote about him and published his picture and name, claiming he's the thief without any evidence. There was no proof against him, and all they relied on was the resemblance between him and the photo he lived near the bank. After they wrote about him a lot, the police arrested him and interrogated him just to appease the public. During the investigation, it was found out that he indeed had an alibi which proved that he wasn't present at the crime scene. That made it impossible for him to be the thief. So they had to let him go, but his reputation was already damaged. The entire Japan was closely following his case. His face was plastered all over the newspapers. He even lost his job and his friends and family distanced themselves from him. Even though he was proven innocent, he became so depressed that he took his own life. The third suspect was the strongest out of all the suspects. A 19-year-old boy named Sato Yoshiro stood out. The boy was a part of a local gang. His father was a police officer. The boy had a history of stealing cars. As you know, the thief had switched cars multiple times during the operation. This boy was also known for his love for motorcycles and his exceptional riding skills. His features looked similar to those in the police sketch. He didn't have any alibi that could prove his innocence. At the scene of the theft, the most crucial part of the whole story was that his father was a police officer. He had a bicycle, meaning it was easy for him to know the specifics of the bike and duplicate it. Along with all the other details, the police had no reason to exclude him as a suspect. But the problem was that a couple of hours before his arrest, they received news that this young man had drunk poison and died. The police stated that this was because he seemingly committed suicide when he found out that he was a suspect and they were about to arrest him. But another issue was that they found neither any money nor any evidence at his house to prove that he was the thief. Moreover, the police also considered the possibility that his father might have killed him to prevent family disgrace because he was a policeman, or that the whole gang to which he belonged participated in the operation, and when they realized that the police were suspicious of him, they decided to get rid of him so that he wouldn't cause any trouble. This could be the most plausible explanation, as when they tracked down the other gang members, they found out they were buying new houses and cars. One of them was apprehended after a while, and a large sum of money was found at his house, which could potentially have been part of the stolen amount. Despite the lack of solid proof for this story, it was the closest hypothesis that the police were able to formulate after 7 years, and in December 1975, they publicly announced that they were ending the investigation without having arrived at any conclusive results. The most interesting thing about this case is that after 20 years in 1988, according to Japanese law, the thief was exonerated of all charges, and they said to him, "All right, it's all over now. There will be no further pursuit of you in any way, shape, or form, and you may reveal your identity." However, he neither admitted guilt nor revealed his identity. It remained a mystery.